Welcome to the Highland Waves podcast, coming to you from Marshbrook Studios, situated on a bank of the world-famous Margaree River in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, Canada. I'm Pat Wall, your host. This morning, I'm pleased to introduce to our listeners Mr. Paddy Poirier, a Margaree resident, a professional angling and hunting guide, and presently, first Vice President of the 44-year-old Margaree Salmon Association. Welcome to Highland Waves, Paddy.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks for the invite. Honored to be here.
Oh, well, thank you and you're welcome. You were born, raised, and educated in the Margaree area?
Originally from Inverness.
Oh, you're from Inverness?
From Inverness, yeah.
Okay.
I moved to Margaree when I was 13.
Ah, okay. And you were educated in this area?
Yep, I graduated from Margaree Forks High.
Oh, okay. Were you interested in the outdoors as a child and wildlife?
Very interested. My father was, Simon, was a very adamant fly fisherman. He was kind of a Puritan fly fisherman. I had introduction to the outdoors at a very young age. I was actually 5 years old when I caught my first Atlantic salmon on the Margaree at Seal Pool.
Oh, really? Was there an experience in your early years that got you thinking to working and living in nature as a living?
I was always interested in the outdoors. I was never one that wanted to be stuck behind a desk or stuck indoors. Outdoor, I am landscape horticulture by trade.
Oh, okay.
So
the outdoors is your playground.
That was my forte. Yeah.
Okay. Did you leave that totally behind and become involved in other activities besides what you're doing now? Did you do other professions, or did you stay with the outdoors?
No, it's been primarily outdoors landscaping.
Okay.
I did spend a few years away from the Margarees, and
Okay.
but I came back quite a few years ago, and it's the river's a part of your blood. And,
yeah, that's right. Besides hunting and fishing, do you guide for other outdoor activities?
Sometimes I'll do a little nature eco-tourism.
Okay.
People, if river conditions and fishing isn't good, trips up into the Highlands, Cape Clear, other sites and stuff.
Has your early experiences in life sort of influenced how you guide clients today?
Most certainly. I try and portray my love and passion and respect for the river, pass it on.
Okay.
And to teach new anglers and people that come here, the love and respect that the river deserves and needs, and especially with the salmon species.
Okay. Have you had mentors other than your dad who inspired you as you move along?
Most certainly. Growing up at an early age, a lot of the older generation, Kenny Brinston, a lot of these guys, growing up when I moved to the Valley, John Hart, a few other guys that helped mentor over the years.
Okay.
Even going into DFO, Tommy Murphy and Wes Barrington.
Sure.
A few of these guys that, with the protection and stuff.
Okay.
And
how long have you been a guide?
I really first started guiding when I was 16, and it was just a happen chance how I got into it, and spent on and off over the years. But as a professional licensed guide, it's been the last 12 years.
Okay. Do you guide in other provinces, or do you just stick with Nova Scotia?
I do have my Newfoundland guide license, but Nova Scotia is primary. With the kids and everything, it's hard to do the
Okay,
travel.
what qualifications do you require to become a licensed guide?
Nova Scotia Guides Association, which I sit on the board of as well, they put on a course for hunting and fishing guiding in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Todd Kennedy also puts on a great course, and a lot of experience is not needed, but it does go quite well with trying to get into the sport.
Okay.
Then there's provincial licensing.
Okay. Do you have to take refresher courses along the way?
No, there's no. You just keep renewing your license through the Guides Association and Fish Nova Scotia. They put on a Guides Plus program, which guides can take food handler courses, how to take proper photography, etiquette. With the diversity in today's culture, there's different aspects of lifestyles and stuff that have to be respected. And
sure. Let's start with fishing. Which fish species do you guide for?
Here I guide for Atlantic salmon mainly, trout species on most water systems in the area, from the Bedore Lakes, Mabu, Margarees. Tidal waters, I'll guide for striped bass.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Some smallmouth bass in Lake Ainsley, but that's limited.
Okay. Do you have a favorite?
Atlantic salmon is the king of the river.
What is the most challenging one?
Again, Atlantic salmon, you know, but it's a joy when you do hook up.
Yeah. Do you specialize in clientele, or do you guide anybody who wishes to go out into the outdoors and have fun?
Anybody that wants to experience it. Okay. Being on the river and being on the waters. Okay. And it's not always about the fish. It's just being part of nature. Okay. The wildlife, the flora, the fauna, everything is an added bonus to the adventure.
It must be quite exciting to guide so many different ages and male, female. You never know what you're going to encounter when you go to the river, I guess.
Yeah, everybody has their own character, and you meet people that are right serious, then you got others that are just out for the sheer pleasure of being out on the river. You get folks that are coming from the city and stuff and don't get to experience the Margaree. The Margaree is a unique system, and from the people to the environment.
Sure. And you guide all ages, of course, probably young people as well as older people.
I've guided from 4 years old to 94.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Which one's the easiest?
The women actually are the easiest.
Oh, really?
I find when you're teaching new anglers, the women actually pay attention. Sometimes maybe the males come with a little,
chip on their shoulder. Experience.
Too much attitude, and I find the women usually pick it up very quick.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. When someone calls you and is looking for a guide, what information do you provide them on the telephone on the first call?
I could be anything from a booking agent. Like normally it's what species they're looking for, and most of the time it's Atlantic salmon. And you have to explain to them, especially beginners and intermediate. Atlantic salmon are one of the hardest fish species to catch. So you got to explain that going for a trip for Atlantic salmon, they call it a fish of 1,000 casts. And I explain to them, I know people with 1,000,000 casts that haven't hooked a salmon yet.
Yeah.
But when you do, and if you do, you understand why.
Yeah. And you'll remember it.
Yeah.
Besides the actual guiding, do you provide accommodations, meals, gear like flies, waders, and that kind of thing?
On my trips, if it's requested for shore lunch, if people want a shore lunch, I'll pack sandwiches and snacks and everything to maximize the amount of time on the river.
Okay.
Accommodations I don't provide, but I have listings.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm a booking agent. I find accommodations for people, throughout the community, and sometimes we have to look beyond, right? Because you look in the Margarees, it's fairly busy with the tourism.
It fills up pretty quick.
It fills up quick, and if you're not on the ball, you can miss out.
Okay. What is a typical day on the river salmon fishing? What's it like?
Generally, we meet in the morning between 5:30 and 6. We get all the gear ready. My guided trips, I provide waders, rods, flies, whatever's needed for the outing. We get geared up. We do some quick instruction. If it's beginner anglers, maybe we'll meet at the Forks Library at Cody Tompkins and go out in the back lawn and do a couple of practice casts so that we're not holding up the pool and the rotations, right?
Sure.
So, little quick education, a little rundown on respect, on fighting the fish, and, my respect for the salmon. I will tell clients, I will not let them play a fish to death just to get a picture.
Okay.
And I have grab lines and snap leaders off because we're playing the fish too long, especially when you get into warm water situations.
Which is happening quite frequently.
Which is, over the years, is major. And, we've seen unnecessary kills at times because of, but, and you go through what fighting action may be. If the fish is jumping, you bow to the fish just to allow that little bit of slack so that they don't snap your leader or your rod. Different general, explain the rotation, how it's not mandatory by law, but it's etiquette that's been in place in the Margarees for generations.
It's an education process.
Then that's the start. Before you hit the water, there is some education involved.
And they enjoy it more when they have that information.
It is, and they're not. They don't feel so out of place. And,
sure, exactly. Do you have a memorable experience on the river you can relate?
Well, like I said, I've been guiding, like I said, for a while, and everyone is quite memorable. And one in particular, it was a young couple from Ontario, and the young gentleman, he was a big-time bass fisherman, smallmouth, largemouth, and I find they tend to be the hardest to try and teach to fly fish.
Oh, really?
Because all they want to do is use their wrist.
Okay.
So, like they're using their noodle sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember I had this young couple out, and like I said, she picked up beautiful cast, 4 or 5 minutes instruction casting. She was laying a beautiful bomber on the water. It was late June, bomber season. Him, splash, smash, bang, all this action and overcasting, and we're coming down through Wash Pool, and I'm explaining to her, and I just showed her a couple of key points, a couple little riffles on the water, and it's like, when you get there, just place your fly a couple of times, short steps, keep moving through. Him, I went back and I'm working the casting, and he's going on about all the fish he's hooked and all this stuff, the bass and pike and stuff. And, I'm looking at him, and all of a sudden you can hear this big splash, bang. And as we turned around, she had hooked this big fish, probably a 20-plus pound fish.
Wow.
But when it came out, it ran straight at her, and it jumped right in front of her. So all the excitement and stuff, she started going backwards. Well, she went backwards right down under the water with all the excitement. And so we started running down, and she popped back up, and she still had the fish on the line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we ended up landing that fish, and that was
that's a memorable experience.
It was quite a battle
for everybody.
And he was kind of slightly embarrassed that he couldn't do it, but sometimes it's not always the prettiest cast. But
well, that's right. So you have a program with veterans on the river as well?
Yeah, I've been volunteering with Heroes Mending on the Fly for probably going on 8-9 years now at least.
What's it called again? I'm sorry.
Heroes Mending on the Fly.
Oh, okay.
Used to be Project Healing the Waters Canada, but they'd switched their name. It's a very worthwhile program. It works with military vets, police, fire, EHS, all first responders can be involved in this program, and it's from PTSD to physical,
handicaps?
Wide range of issues, right?
Okay.
And first couple of years, well, when I first got the call, it was yes, and I know they've contacted other people, and everybody wanted money. It's like, no, I'm volunteering. These people volunteer to put their lives on the line to help protect us and stuff. The least I could do was volunteer my time.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's been a great, worthwhile project. I've made a lot of friends, and I still get contacted from people that were on the very first course up here, and
Really?
it's a way of escape. And anybody that fly fish and stuff, sometimes it's just getting out. It's not always about getting the fish. When you're casting your line, casting your fly, a lot of those things that are troubling in your mind, they get pushed back.
Yeah.
You're listening to the birds, you listen to the riffle of the
Right.
water,
Exactly.
your attention goes elsewhere. And a lot of these guys walk away, not all of them, but they walk away with another tool to cope.
To help
the
them
issue.
cope,
Yeah.
in future.
Yep.
Do these people come from Canada, or do they come from all over?
Well, there is a nationwide program, but here it's all Nova Scotia chapters.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. The last couple of years, we've had a new chapter come up in Shetty Camp, and,
okay.
and they've done a couple of trips: Wedgeport Valley, Halifax.
Okay.
So it's been a growing program, and it's.
Besides guiding them, what have you learned from them?
I say it a lot of times, like with the other volunteers and some of the other team leaders, military guys, that a lot of times, I walk away more humbled, appreciative of, some of the stuff that some of these guys go through, when you're in situations like this and you can get one-on-one, they open up about things that, IEDs or situations they've been in, and, it gives you a great appreciation and understanding and the utmost respect for these men and women that have done this. And, it's humility is a lot of,
Yeah. What? How healthy is the salmon and trout population now as compared to, let's say, 4 or 5 years after you started guiding?
The last number of years, it's so hard. Even though we've had a trap down river, it's only catching a very, very small portion of fish. Like with MSA, like the last couple of years, and I've seen it even when I was younger. I'd be hunting the intervals for grouse and woodcock, snipe and stuff, and I'd be seeing bright silver sea run salmon coming in November, jumping and coming in the river. They will adapt to situations. The last 2 years, people say the numbers are down. Well, maybe they're not coming in until November, just before ready to spawn.
When we're all finished fishing.
When we're all done. And it's hard to get an accurate reading. Yes, years, and same as years ago. Like I remember back in 96, which was a phenomenal year. And that was one of the highest years of tagged grills on the Margaree, which was just under 1,000 fish tagged. And there was phenomenal fish throughout the river system. And, and you can see coming back, you go back 3 years ago, we had phenomenal fishing. We started getting range, but not only range, tons of fish. And the last couple of years doing electrofishing with DFO and the MSA crew, some of these tributaries we're actually seeing, maybe a 10-15% increase in salmon power, which should indicate a healthy adult population on the other end. Although we're not getting a physical reading, that should directly correlate to good, healthy adult population.
Yeah. Have you had any close encounters while you've been fishing? Anybody fall in except this lady?
No, well, the close thing would come with nature. It was a friend of mine, Bob Engelhardt from California. He hasn't been up for a few years, but we used to fish a lot together, and I guided him for years. Then we became friends, and we just go out fishing, right? And this one evening we're at Wash Pool, and he's down below, and he'd always bring a bottle of Kentucky bourbon, and we'd sit there and have a couple of sips on the river and have a chat. And it was just coming on to last light, and so he's halfway down the river, and I'm at the top of the river, and down off the far bank, here comes and it was quite sizable black bear.
Oh, gee.
So he was coming across the river, and Bob, there was all kinds of fish, and Bob, he wasn't hearing nothing, but the bear's between the two of us, and it came across the river, and it was standing between the two of us, and it was probably about 50 feet from me and a little further from him, and I was like, Bob. And he's like, what? I said, Bob, look. And he's looking up in the river. I said, no, look upriver at me, Bob. And he turns around, he sees the bear, and right away he starts running down river. I was like, Bob. And sure enough, the bear turned and,
chased him.
Took a 10, 20-foot jog down. And I hollered, and the bear stopped, and I hollered to Bob, stop, don't run, you're prey now. But the bear just kind of gave a little huff and went off his way into the woods.
That's
it was something, every now when we talk, I was kind of remind
him of that, yeah. Let's switch to hunting for a moment. What species do you guide for hunting?
Mainly bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bear. The deer populations here, Cape Breton used to be the hunting destination of Nova Scotia back in the day.
Yeah.
But the deer population plummeted, and, we're slowly seeing it come back, and, little herds here and there. And so mainly bear, and it's, it's quite surprising the amount of people. And, to me, most of the people and the last sets of people I've guided were all from southern states, Louisiana, Georgia, down in them areas. And, we used to, we'd always call it casting and blasting.
Okay.
They'll come and, do some fishing in the morning. The bear hunt would be late afternoon, evening.
Do you guide for moose?
No, I haven't guided for moose for quite a while. I have some guys that will come up. We'll do grouse, woodcock, snipe, stuff like that.
Okay, all right. In your opinion, what role do you feel guides play in protecting fish and wildlife populations?
Like I was saying with guiding with salmon, it's the educational part, and it's to pass on the importance. Now with hunting, there's no catch and release, but with salmon, catch and release. And I've taught my kids from a young age. We're going trout fishing. If you want to eat it, okay, we can take it home and eat it. We're not going to put it in the freezer and freezer burn it to throw it away in the spring when the season opens again. So the importance of just because you catch it doesn't mean you have to kill it.
Sure.
Right? And knowing that you put it back, it's going to spawn, and maybe it'll get a few more years spawning before it passes or somebody else catches it.
Sure.
So it's, the vital importance of, protection of habitat, enhancement, being out there, being on the river. We don't see it as much as years ago, but poaching, if nobody's there, if there's not a presence of fishermen on the river, well, that's more opportunity for someone that's going to poach to do it, right? So it's kind
more
of
eyes, the better.
And that's it. It's a protection, a layer of protection.
Sure, exactly. You are the vice president, or the first vice president of the Margaree Salmon Association. What have you learned from your experience there?
You're going to get bad notes. And yourself as being one of the founding guys of MSA. There's always going to be someone, to to come at you. You're not doing enough. You should do this. You should do that. You know, and believe me, I was there at one point in time that, you know, got to do more, got to do more, got to do this. You know, so, you know, being there, you know, you got a lot of red tape, government tape. You know, the bureaucracy of getting permits and timelines and different stuff, right? And, you know, back in the old days, I can remember, you know, growing up where a farmer can get a permit and just start dumping rocks off the bank.
Yeah.
No engineer, no thought or reason, just dump the rocks and hopefully it protects my bank. Well, you know, hindsight 2020, sometimes that stuff was detrimental. It caused a change in current, or it pushed the water current against the fire bank, which was weaker than the bank it was coming on. So, you know, and being there, again, and talking to people and stuff like that, it's, you know, the outreach, letting people know what you're doing. Just because we're not on the river rocking everywhere doesn't mean we're not in the background. Like I said, doing the electrofishing. The last couple of years, working with PhD students, doctorate students, doing all kinds of studies, predation studies, aquatic invasive species studies.
Yes.
You know, a lot of stuff has been done, and a lot of scientific data that we can use in going forward and making plans to help enhance the river. You know, it's all about protection, enhancement. And
the Margaree Salmon Association does a lot of work in the community that, in my opinion, is not well recognized.
Yeah, we had a meeting the other day with Claudia from the provincial NDP party, and that was one of the things that, you know, we're, you know, working with the Salmon Museum. You know, our crew, you know, we'll put our crew over there to help paint, help keep the grounds, you know, do the roof. Canada Day, you know, we're promoting MSA and stuff, but we're promoting Margaree. You know, we sit on boards with the Salmon Museum, MADA. You know, how can we keep the community, and, you know, the river is the community. You know, everybody's attached to the river system, and it's the lifeblood of the valleys. You know, the Margarees, and we do World River Day, and a lot of stuff like that that's within the community to promote the Margarees and further educate. You know, you're reaching people that normally you wouldn't reach.
And it helps everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah. Are the younger generation engaging more in the outdoors, do you think?
Well, especially when COVID hit, you know, a lot of people came back to fishing, and a lot of young people picked it up because there was nothing else to do. Yeah. I have, you know, definitely over the last number of years, seeing a lot of young people come back and engage in the angling, and one that I'm really happy to see is seeing the amount of women coming into the fisheries, fly fishing, salmon fishing, and being involved in like MSA or different organizations. And you know, it's great.
What keeps you so passionate after so many years?
It's just a love and a respect, you know, for the Margarees, for the river, for the fish. It's something, you know, I'm probably one of the only professional guides that sits on a board that fights to close the river for the protection of the fish. You know, guiding is, you know, I got property management and I got guiding, and they both keep me quite busy.
Okay.
Joy making the money, but it's the people, being outdoors, and, you know, if I got to stop fishing, and usually I'll quit guiding before the river's closed.
Okay. When
When I think personally conditions are getting too bad or getting dangerous, I will stop guiding.
Sure.
And I'll explain, right? And that's my etiquette.
Okay.
You know, and like I explain it, you know, if I stop fishing today and I prevent one salmon from dying from being overfished, that's That's great.
Yeah.
That's what we have to. That's what we all have to do.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, you can make $1,000 this year, but if you kill fish and they close the river next year, it'll probably never open again.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And it's up to everybody. As guides, we got to hold a higher standard, because I want to pass it on to the next generation.
Sure.
I want my son, my daughters, their kids,
Sure.
my grandkids, great grandkids, to be able to come here and enjoy the Margaree as I have.
Oh, that's a good attitude. If listeners could take away one lesson from your time on the water or in the woods, what would you hope it would be?
Absorb it all. I know guys that come here and they'll fish for a week and they'll fish from 6 a.m. till dark, and that's all they're focused on. They miss everything else. Mm-hmm. I've guided people, and being horticulture background, I know spots where there's some wild orchids. I know where there's some wild jack in the pulpit and different plants that I know people walk by for the last 50 years and still don't know that plant is there.
Yeah.
And that's
nice.
And like that I was saying, it's the flora, the fauna.
Yeah.
It's
all of it.
It's the combined environment, to absorb everything, listen to the bird, or identify a little hawk, or see something, and like in that, especially when I got clients that aren't used to this, and
Sure.
just knowing that little bird, or identifying. Like, again, I've had a couple from California, and Buddy's wife was in the horticulture clubs, and we were walking in the wash pool where is one clump of wild jack in the pulpit, and I just stopped and said, "Oh, look at this," and I parted a couple of plants and showed the plant. That right there made the whole trip for her for the week they were here.
Really?
She could not care about fishing, anything. And,
Wonderful.
She had to run back out to get cell service so she could send the picture back to her horticulture club back in California.
Very nice.
So and that's all the combined journey.
It's
right?
the joy in it all.
And as a guide, being able to pass that on and show that, it makes a trip. Even though you didn't catch a fish, it all combines to make a great trip.
That's great. Is there anything you would like to add before we finish up?
Like I said, everybody's got to have the respect and do their part. Like I said, catch and release. It all adds to maintaining a healthy system. And one of the big things is get involved. Everybody wants to be a keyboard warrior, but get involved. Join an organization like MSA or Nova Scotia Salmon Association, ASF. All these organizations have, great members. We're all pushing for the protection, the enhancement of all these trout species, right? And, it's being mindful of your surrounding, respecting people's properties. Although we have it in the Fisheries Act, you can traverse property and stuff. You still got to be respectful.
Sure.
And, you see places where we're losing that because of the disrespect, And as always, and I get in arguments every year, you pack it in, pack it out. And it's...
Well, Paddy, thank you for taking the time to come and talk to our listeners about yourself, your guiding profession, and the MSA. There's a lot more to being a guide than most people understand.
There is.
Your approach will certainly help, not only those who pursue our wildlife resources, but the resource itself, and everybody should be thankful for that. Good luck in the future. And thank you to our listeners. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you can stay up to date. And remember, subscribing to Highland Waves is free. And why not leave a comment on our programming so we can improve? Our thought for today is by a gentleman by the name of Fred Beer, who once said, "Immerse yourself in the outdoor experience. It will cleanse your soul and make you a better person." So long for now, Pat.